government came into place, I got the privilege, as you have rightly said so, to be nominated as a Minister for Water, Sanitation and Irrigation in September 2022, where I served until 5th of October 2023. And then I was moved from that ministry by His Excellency the President in the exercise of his mandate to the Ministry of Lands, Public Works, Housing and Urban Development. I have served since then until the 11th of July this year, when I was dismissed under Article 152(5)(b). I think I will say that in terms of my competence, I am a team worker. I take a lot of pride in working within the team. I have had the privilege, I have talked about advocacy and training and litigation as a litigation lawyer, but within the Ministry of Water, I did various matters, various things in terms of the work, which was new to me that time. And my handover report speaks for itself. It talks about non-revenue, reducing non-revenue, coming up with frameworks for reducing non-revenue water. In water, we also were able to come up with a framework for water purchase agreements to work within the framework of PPP. We did several boreholes, several strategic plans to raise funding to the tune of, by the time I was leaving, we had about a total, including the Kenya budget, we had a total of about 80 billion for water. I was able to understand the mandate very fast, and we raised the water coverage from 65%, the national water coverage from 65% to 72% by the time I was leaving within that short period, and then sanitation from 26% to 32%. Now, in the Ministry of Lands, where I have then served for those other 10 months, now I believe this was my 10th month, we have various programs that are running, and therefore I would say that in terms of the work that I have been doing, and I'm very thankful to His Excellency the President for returning me back by way of this nomination back to the ministry that I have been for the last 10 months. I find that as a confirmation in one way or the other, or expression of confidence that I did my work for those few months properly, and subject to the approval, I'm willing to serve the country in that capacity. There are a lot of challenges in the ministry, but in terms of competence as a lawyer, I do not find myself as a stranger. For example, in the State Department for Lands, where obviously there are matters that I had done before. I was exposed to conveyancing, but I was not exposed to some of the challenges that are there, including fraud, including cartels, including bad practices, which we have, with the support of Parliament, I'm sure we'll be able to overcome. So I'm a team worker, I'm a hard worker, I believe in hard work and honesty, and I have the right aptitude to carry out my duty as a minister.
Do.
Yeah.
Thank you. I'll invite the Deputy Speaker to fire at you the first question.
Okay, Honorable Wahome, I'd like to ask you this, and because it's one of the questions that most lawyers are asking. There's been the ongoing digitization of land transactions and records to curb corruption. There's been the rollout of RD Sasa, which was having a challenge, and I know that also you had the ministry's strategic plan 2023-2027. Could you tell us what you are already doing in regards to these 3 areas, but also what you would do, and that you feel that there's still challenges going forward if your confirmation of your nomination is made. Thank you.
I thought you said you have some support staff with you.
The question is what we are doing in respect of the ADISASA, the digitization and digitalization system within the ministry, the Department of Lands. And that there are several questions coming towards that particular strategy to deal with the land. One, this particular program is meant to bring efficiency to secure land records and to provide maybe surety that the security of the records will be maintained with integrity. The program started way back in 2014, and where we are, I could safely say that we have been able to cover the entire Nairobi with about, which has about 300,000 titles, and you can be able to access the ADISASA platform, and therefore we are at a better place. But I still know that there are a few records that we are still working on loading. And of course, with the huge developments that are coming up, we'll still require to have a bigger space in terms of that platform so that we can capture land in real time, be able to give records to the public in real time, and accessibility becomes easier and more assured. The story of missing files should be one of our bad history, so that this is a system that we should encourage, embrace as an information management system. What we have moved now to Murang'a, to Isiolo, to Mombasa with the same system, and we are already working in another 27 registries where we have been able to take our scanners, because the first exercise you do is to network within provide the infrastructure, then you do the scanning of the records. You know, our records have been manual. We want to, of course, to get rid of the manual records, not completely throw away the records, but be able to know that we have the information systems secure, properly secured, but then the records are put on, on board, loaded. With that, then we can be able to say that I want to be very honest with the Parliament, because I'm at the right place. We needed a better budget, a bigger budget, to the tune of between 35 and 40 billion to be able to secure all our records under the digitization system. And of course, the country needs to be able to have fiber networking in those other places. And therefore, another maybe 5 years, we can safely be able to do this, provided that we get sufficient budget as a country to cover it. And yeah.
Majority Leader.
Mr. Speaker, yes, nominee,
It is not working.
Thank you. CS Nominee, I will not ask questions of if you are approved, because you have been the Cabinet Secretary for Lands for at least a year or so. And you are aware there have been very many cases of land grabbing around the country. And we've also seen you on TV on some land which was alleged to have been grabbed somewhere in Loresho. And you also know of many other cases that have been brought to your attention or the attention of your office, your former office at the Ministry of Lands around Windsor and other areas. Cases where your ministry officials, officials of the National Lands Commission, those from the police have been involved. I would want to hear what you would do if approved, or what you have been doing to curb the rampant cases of land grabbing, and especially considering the recent court judgment by the Supreme Court that a title by itself is not prima facie evidence that you are the owner of, legitimate owner of land, that one needs to go beyond that face value of the title to check how that title was acquired from the initial first owner. And you're aware, many of the cases that you have been dealing with are cases where land is illegally transferred from the bona fide owners to land grabbers, and with the protection of or facilitation of officers in the Ministry of Lands and protection of other government officers, including the police, they take away people's land. What is it that you have been doing to address that, and what will you do that will now completely curb that vice? Lastly is your engagements with the National Lands Commission. I would want to hear your firm commitment to respecting independent constitutional commissions like that of the National Lands Commission, knowing their boundaries between the work of the ministry and independent commissions like the National Lands Commission. What is your position on the role of the National Lands Commission vis-a-vis the role of the ministry that you have been working in? Thank you.
Go ahead.
Thank you very much, Honorable Ichongwa, for those questions. It is true, and it should be actually a national tragedy to have the fact to have a situation where a title is not prima facie evidence, necessary prima facie evidence of ownership. When I was going through my university law course, I knew that title, and the land law that was taught is that title is sacred. The title deed is almost absolute, but it's no longer the case because, as you have rightly pointed out, we are aware of very many cases of fraud being carried out by Kenyans with the support of sometimes unscrupulous
Kenyan criminals, because not every Kenyan is carrying out fraud.
Kenyan fraudsters.
Yes.
Kenyan fraudsters and cartels. And they are not just, when we say cartels, I want to clarify. They are powerful cartels, they are mandate cartels. Some of them surprisingly have made money through those kind of fraudsters, but then maybe cleansed that money into institutions like schools, like banks, like other maybe real property investments. And they are also powerful. But of course, there are also the ordinary cartels and criminals also who don't have much money, but they are part of the whole system. And I have come across very many, and some are very sad cases, because people have, the cartels have reached a point where they don't respect the title deeds, and sadly, many times, or quite largely, the officers of the ministry have been, in numerous cases, part and parcel of procuring those kind of titles. When you look at the Land Act, to be able to deal a big blow to the cartels when they secure fraudulent titles, and you, Honorable Speaker, I mean that you are the owner, say, of this particular building, cartels come and they perform some miracle and procure another title, while your title is safely somewhere, maybe under the the locus of this particular building or parliament. And that title is the normal paper that we use for titling in this country. But other times it could be that paper, but the signatures are superimposed, or signatures of former commissioners of lands, maybe former registrars, both dead and alive. Not that they are the ones who sign, but some of our retired officers have also been part of that cartel. They've been signing. Some in their death, they are said to have signed. And therefore, what am I doing? I think we need to work on some amendments very quickly on the Land Act, so that the minute the registry, the technical information on the land records are known to be interfered with, to have been fraudulently secured or changed, so then the registrar, say the chief land registrar, should be able to immediately effect a cancellation and leave by law, because the minister is the custodian of all land titles, and therefore be able to say this record should look like this, and so that the person flagging another title out there should be left to be the one to have the honors of going to court to prove that the ministry has changed records or altered records, and that these are the true records. What has happened is that the ministry, previously the courts have taken the position that a title is sacred, a title can only be cancelled by the court. And you know, for the court to arrive at a position where it is able to say that these are the records, truly the evidence must be produced before the court by the chief land registrar or through his officers, so that then the